Have you had a chronic health condition or known someone who has? It's pretty common to have all sorts of physical challenges. But instead, would you love to feel completely healthy and for your loved ones to be healthy? You could write healthy in the chat if that's true for you. Fatal pronouncements do not have to be your fate. My name is Avital, and I'm known as the Healing Breakthrough Facilitator. In my book, Healing Happens, Chapter 3, Was It Love or Was It Kale? Dr. Brooke Goldner's story of healing from lupus shortly after being proposed to when trying to lose weight for her wedding seems quite miraculous till you dive into what it was she did. The one main change that she made was her diet in order to lose that weight. And she came across a nutrient rich vegan diet, which can have a huge impact on somebody with autoimmune disorder. And being a doctor, she continued the research on that and has helped hundreds of people with this shift. Now, meat lovers, dairy lovers, you don't need to freak out. There's a time and a place for everything and for everyone. In the last chapter of my book, Healing Happens, we actually talk more about tuning into what, and a more intuitive level, what is right for your body. And I believe that sometimes meat can be the right thing for your body. I eat meat right now. So I feel like that's the right thing for my body right now. But the question is, are you eating enough nutrients around that? Really life full and rich foods around that. And there's the secret to changing your diet. Simply add into it something that can add more nutrients to you. Dr. Brooke Goldner talks about her green smoothie that she recommends. And that's one way to do it because it's really, really dense in nutrients, really natural, really easy for most of our bodies to be able to handle, and really easy to just add on top of our diet without having to necessarily change anything else. But allow the impact of that to naturally impact what your desires are from there. The other thing I promised that I would do in this video is to discuss how to relate to disease, right? We don't want to cause more disease because we feel stress in response to the physical challenges that we're having. The first thing that Dr. Brooke Goldner really gets into is the concept of being in flow with the disease. So it's not who you are, it is something that is happening. We don't need to be in denial of it, but we focus more on our reason to live. We focus more on the gifts that we can give. And as I like to say, singing your sweet song. And the neat thing about Dr. Brooke Goldner's story is she had lupus in high school. So at a very, very young age, she was already suffering a lot from this. And she thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if I could do something to help people suffer less? And that's what triggered her to become a doctor. And then she healed completely. It's been over 15 years. There's been no sign of lupus. And she healed by changing her diet. So what does she do? She starts sharing this diet program with hundreds of other people, with all of her clients, and seeing more and more people get impacted by that change. So she's able to give a gift to other people that comes from that suffering. And imagine what gifts could come if we really look towards the outcome of what are we learning and how are we growing and how could we make this easier for other people. I mean, that's literally why I'm here in front of you, because of my own story of healing beyond what was expected. The other piece here that I want to remind you about when you're talking about being in flow is making sure that you're taking the actions to love yourself, that you're not forcing yourself to be something different, And maybe consider, what if disease is not necessarily a bad thing? What if what's happening is a sign of personal or spiritual growth? What if this is going to lead you in an even better direction in your life going forward? And all you need to do right now is tune into what that is. And then by loving yourself, allow the space for what you're emotionally or intuitively drawn to manifest itself. The fourth thing I'm going to say about being in flow with disease right now, I actually say tons of these things in my podcast, Healing Happens. So you can always look that up and then get even more of these tips of how do we relate to disease, because that's really a lot of what this path is about. Is we talk about loving ourselves, we talk about being happy. And here's the other piece I want to mention, and this is also mentioned in the last chapter of Healing Happens, is the concept that your body is like your soulmate. And Brooke knew the challenges that she would face, if she was in the sun, if she ate a certain way, if she slept a certain way. And she just did the things that she needed to take care of her physical body. So imagine in a way that your physical body could be like this other person, this other being, but you're with them all the time, and how they feel impacts how you feel. So you want to do the right thing for your body so that you also feel good. So a little bit of more of that reciprocal effect of being in flow with something. So there are times, like for myself, because my soul, you could say, the soul part of my soulmate or my spirit wants to do so much. And my body is a little bit more like, could we stop and smell the roses a little bit more? I don't necessarily want to do that much. And so sometimes I have to just step back and enjoy the moment a little bit more versus always going, going, going and climbing the highest mountain, right? It's like, well, why don't I just stop and enjoy the view for a little bit? And then my body gets so excited that it gets to rest for a moment and just stay present in the moment rather than moving the moment, right? It's a little lesson that playing with that game of body as a soulmate that I got to learn about myself. And when you get to the end of the book, you'll read Maureen Bell's story about that too. So, second point I'm going to mention about our relationship with disease is to expand your mind to the potential that could exist out there. So at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that fatal pronouncements do not have to be your fate. I mean, they could be. Absolutely. They don't have to be. They aren't necessarily your fate. So here's Dr. Brooke Goldner on chemo in high school. Had a mini stroke while she was doing her residency. That's pretty serious. And today, no lupus. But she wasn't expected to live long. She wasn't expected to have kids. She didn't think she'd ever get married. She thought she'd just wear a white coat, but then she got to wear a white dress. Then she had two beautiful, healthy kids with extremely easy pregnancies that she recovered from quickly. She lost the weight quickly, too. So let's say that. She fit into her pre-pregnancy genes pretty quickly after giving birth. So, wow, difference in potential from you're going to have this disease, which is just going to drag down your life and limit you from all these possibilities. And look at her thriving now. So let's keep staying open-minded and see what other stories come up as you read through the rest of the book, Healing Happens. And then I want to ask that question. Was it love or was it Kale? Which is the name, the chapter. And we're talking about the kale, right? And it could be a different green, right? It's always an analogy. But was it love? That's a little harder to study. But there are things done, like Dr. Emoto with his water study, where he put the word love on one glass of water and the word hate on another glass of water, and then looks at the molecules under a microscope. And the hate molecules were all these weird scattered patterns. And the love molecules were like these perfect symmetrical snowflakes. You ever cut out those snowflakes as a kid? Or you just see the snowflakes sometimes. Here in Denver, you could see the snowflakes a little bit more. Where I grew up on the East Coast, they would all clump together a little bit more. But here it's a little drier. So you could see that beautiful, beautiful pattern by having a positive word on the water. Your body is mostly made of water. So, what do we think that positivity, what do we think that love can impact in our lives? Right? So, what's the impact of stress? Disease is most commonly caused from stress. So, how are you going to help yourself? Well, what can you do? What can you shift about the stress? Can you just do things that are de stressing, like taking 5 deep breaths a day? As simple as that. Could you get out of the situation that feels stressful? Could you change your attitude around it? If the situation has to do with past trauma, could you work through healing some of that past trauma? Right? These are some of the things that we do when we work one to one. But those are all the things that you can do of ways that you can shift stress. A lot of times, stress is just a perception of the mind. And we just need to shift something in our lives or something in our mindset. And we don't need to live with as much stress. And then we can live healthier and we can live happier. Amazing. Having a greater relationship with ourselves. And then here's the other, so the relationship with other. And which other specifically here? It's the relationship with your doctor. Because Brooke is a doctor. So she knows what is going on with other doctors. She knows what she was taught in medical school. And she knows that most doctors don't talk about nutrition. So you don't need to fully rely on your doctor for everything. And generally, nutrition habits that you shift are not going to counteract, but you can always check with your doctor to make sure that whatever treatment they give you, the diet shifts that you're making don't counteract it, right? Like there's sometimes grapefruit is not a good idea, but most things you should be able to eat as long as your body responds well, right? If you're allergic, that's another story. Some people, they can't eat that much raw foods, and that's actually why I'm eating meat now because I wasn't able to eat the raw dark leafy greens so much anymore. These are actually some of the tips. Also, like if you're eating meat, like what's the best meat? That's in my Embody Vibrant Health course. So I still keep having more of these resources to help you fine tune some of these details of healthy living. But what I also want to say about doctors is some of us have started to abhor them, right? It is so frustrating when they don't find solutions to the challenges that we're having, or we're getting sicker in the process of that. Think of your doctor as your angel. I truly believe that most doctors do want to help heal you. They do want to. And they're doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have. Remember, like I mentioned, nutrition is an example of something that is not taught heavily in medical school, yet it can have a huge impact on us, right? The whole beginning of this book is all about food because that is such an easy foundation to start with to create drastic change in our health. So just keep in mind that you can add on and do some of the healthy habit living things. And then you could still allow your doctor to help you. And you can make decisions as you go. Um, but think about your response that when you feel this hate towards doctors when they're not giving you the solutions that you want, how does that feel in your body? And what if instead you say, well, I'm going to find some other solution. This isn't working. So, what's something else that I can try to get to where I want to go? When I first started having health issues, the doctors were not figuring out what was wrong, and I was just getting sicker. And I simply just did a little bit more research. It was a little rare case. I wasn't supposed to have the issues that I had at such a young age, which was part of it. But they were testing my thyroid levels. They weren't testing my antibody levels. So they weren't actually testing for the autoimmune. And so I just said, hey, why don't you test for the autoimmune disorder as well? And then boom, those numbers were high. and the doctors could move forward. So sometimes it's helpful for you to also do your own research, but sometimes it's helpful for you to go to somebody who specializes in nutrition and say, well, what else could I do here to improve my diet and add something to what my doctor is also saying. Okay? So you don't have to do things exactly as I'm saying, but what I want to encourage you to do is think about the thoughts that you think and the impact that they have on you. And then find a solution for your thoughts. All of us are going to have a unique path towards that solution, which is also why I present 18 different perspectives in this book, Healing Happens. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.